People had started calling it Suicide Bridge. Maybe that was the reason so many people came here. The name driving others to use it for the same reasons. Sometimes you feel like the only person who remembered the real name. A bit ironic when you think about it. A bridge named after hope when the people who go there have lost it. Does that mean I've given up hope? You pause, halfway across the railing. No, that couldn't be. I've been doing this since I was a kid. What could I have given up on then? You pushed those thoughts aside. They weren't important right then. Not really. Staring down at the water below. You perched yourself on top of the railing. Even when the water was crashing and high with rain, there was always a feeling that it was only doing exactly what it wanted. This night, there was barely any signs of movement. The surface was obsidian with the occasional flash of white from a ripple, just like the stars in the sky above. It was unseasonably humid, nearing 80 degrees in the middle of September. Even the night was warm and clammy, so uncomfortable you had to shed your jacket. You breathed in the stale air, wishing for a cooling breeze. The wood creaked, as if to remind you of your reason for being there. You ran your hands along it, each bump and groove as familiar as home. Time may have changed the world around it, but the bridge stayed the same. Yes, the wood had lost some of its lacquer, the metal was covered in rust and debris, but even so, it continued on in exactly the same shape. The same can't be said about people. No, people wither away faster than the blink of an eye. One day they could be right in front of you, and the next be gone. You could still remember the first time you had seen someone jump. At just 3 or 4, you snuck out of the house to play in a shallow eddy when you noticed a figure on the bridge. She was pale, and thinner than any person you had ever seen. She looked like a strong wind might sneak up and blow her away. She was crying. And you thought to yourself that if she kept crying like that, she might fill up the entire river. You watched in awe as she gracefully arched through the air, her flimsy little sundress flowing like ribbons. You didn't know what death was yet, but back then her jump seemed almost magical. Now, nearly 2 decades later, here you are, in the same spot, just with a different reason. As you look down at the water, you find yourself reminded of a poem you read a long time ago. The calm, cool face of the river asked me for a kiss. Could it be as easy as that? Just lean forward and let go? For over a decade you had been fighting against the urge, but was your attempt fruitless? Have you always been destined to arrive here? Or are you overthinking this? Even as these putting too much pressure on a simple little river drop flowed on, indifferent to anything but its own journey. The river didn't care what you were thinking. It would not offer advice. The river didn't need to care about you. You didn't matter to it. Yet still, as you contemplated and the river carried on its way, the desire was growing, intensity mounting by the second. You could practically feel the wind against your skin, taste the cool rush of air. You were sure it would feel like flying, like soaring through an endless midnight sky. You would be free, nothing to stop you, just smooth obsidian and the deep bed of night. So why didn't you give in? Knees shaking, you stood up on the railing, your heart pounding out a warning as if it knew what you were planning to do, and you could not quiet the incessant beat. You wavered, torn between a decade of desire and a lifetime of experience. Yet even as your mind rebelled against this, your body was straining forward. It would be so simple, a voice urged, just like taking a step. Again, you thought of the poem. The calm, cool face of the water asked me for a kiss. A desire so strong you've been battling. How could you deny yourself something so powerful? It's just a simple kiss, right? So you leaned forward and gave in.